Dear friends, 2016 is coming to an end. This has been a year which has really been extremely busy in the EU-Moldova relationship. And I'm sure that many of you recall the conclusions of the Council of the European Union in February, where I think we send a quite strong message of how we saw our relationship. What were the reforms which were important? What were the things where attention should be focused? In short, if you looked at those conclusions, you saw that what the EU's interest was a Moldova which went forward in democracy, in reforms, in short, again, delivered to its citizens. One of the issues which was part of those conclusions was the need to have a program with the International Monetary Fund. Now, we all know the situation around the banking sector, a lot of discussion over a quite large banking sector fraud, about 13% of the GDP. And you have all noticed also that there has been a lot of concern, both domestically and internationally, over how this kind of a situation is handled and how you can put safeguards that such developments could not happen again. One of the things which the European Union did at that stage was, when the banking fraud came public, was to put our budget support payments on hold. These are sectoral payments. They're linked to a certain amount of reform sectors in the country, but at the same time, they are payments which need also to be conditioned, not just on the sectors, but also on more general issues, namely on macro-financial stability. Now, the Republic of Moldova did manage, after negotiations and after the fulfillment of something which are called prior actions, to secure approval by the board of the International Monetary Fund for a 3-year country program on 7th of November 2016. From our viewpoint, this in fact meant that there was a framework in place which guaranteed a return to macrofinancial stability. If you look also at prior actions and at the program in more detail, a lot was said about banking sector governance, about banking supervision, the powers of the National Bank. These are issues which are there, which need to be looked at in order to guarantee that that kind of developments, as was seen in the banking sector in 2014, could not happen again. The government of the Republic of Moldova has just received from the European Union an overall payment of 45.3 million euros. This payment was now possible because of the IMF program, because of meeting what we would call the general conditions of budget support payments. That means the transparency of the budgetary process, a framework in terms of banking supervision and others, which you see through the IMF program, and in that a restoration of trust. Now, let me also underline that we will be continuing to look at the implementation of the IMF program, because it is very important that future reforms which are contained in that program are really done and the program stays on track. But at this moment, we were able to resume these payments. Now, let me talk about the 4 sectoral budget support programs within which payments have been made. They are not new programs. They were agreed before 2014, so this is not new budget support. This is, in fact, the resumption of payments on old programs which had already been started. In the case of one program, which is called the Economic Stimulation of Rural Areas, we in fact made our final payment. This has been one of our best performing budget support programs, one where I dare say the Moldovan citizens have felt the biggest tangible benefit. Under this tranche, under this last payment, we covered costs for the construction of 2 business incubators for programs which had created almost 200 new businesses, as well as support to national initiatives for youth, or a program which I particularly much like, which is called PARE 1+1. This is a program for entrepreneurs returning from migration, returning home, putting 50% of their own funding and getting 50% of funding from the PARE 1+1 program. So this is the first of the programs where we now were able to resume payments. The second program is related to overall public finance management in the Republic of Moldova. It's known as the Public Finance Policy Reform Program, and what we have achieved under this period for which the payment is being made has been the strengthening of fiscal governance, initiating a reform of public accounting, enhancing debt management, and supporting medium-term budgetary planning. In other terms, in making the budgetary process more strategic, more forward-looking, better tied to the overall goals of the country, to the overall development of the country in the medium term. The third program, and here we did an initial tranche, and this is one where I'm absolutely certain that Moldovan citizens, especially in the rural areas, will feel real, tangible results in the coming period. This program is called NPARD. It is an agriculture and rural development program which is relating to the modernization of livestock farms, of food establishments, and on the compliance with EU quality and animal product safety requirements. Now, this is also very closely related to the deep and comprehensive free trade area. We have opened the largest and richest market in the world to Moldovan exporters. Moldova has great potential in the agricultural sector, but in order to really be competitive in that market, you need to modernize, you need to come closer to EU standards. This program will directly benefit Moldovan agricultural producers in upgrading their production, storage facilities, in becoming competitive, and this money will be going through the National Payment Agency, the AIPA, directly to the farmers. The fourth program is one on the modernization of vocational education and training. This is really a field in which it's important for the Republic of Moldova to invest. There has been, in this country, a tendency of everybody wanting to go to university, and the vocational training institutes haven't really been seen as an attractive alternative. However, people's skills are different, and if you look at the need of businesses to get new workforce, qualified workforce, so really one of the keys to success of a country is that the education system functions in a way that you get the best specialists, the highest level of education, not just in the research and academic fields, but also in terms of professional education. So this payment also includes support to the reform of this very important part of the educational system, one which has been undervalued, but one which really can chart the way to the future. So, you see, with these payments, we've tackled 2 things. We've managed, with this linkage, to give impetus to finding a way forward with the International Monetary Fund in terms of banking sector governance, in terms of making the public finance management of this country more and more modern, and at the same time we're looking at 4 very important sectors of the economy. This is very much linked to the philosophy which we are using. This dual approach, which comes through these budget support programs, is very important. By focusing on general conditions, you end up with the sound macrofinancial development trend. You look at important questions such as banking sector governance. You really get the fundamentals of the economy towards a better direction. Then when you look at the specific conditions, there we see that whether it's a new program where we give initial funding or programs where we pay on the second or third installments after we have already seen the reforms, we are supporting fields which are very important for this country. There's been, as I said, dear friends, a lot of discussion on EU assistance. So at this time, when we are able now to resume payments of budget support, I wanted to share with you a few words on what exactly we've been doing with this assistance, what the goals are. Let me assure you that the European Union is deeply committed to helping and supporting the Republic of Moldova go forward in real reforms, in tangible reforms, which will bring the country to a different development level. Thank you very much.